All right. Let me just quickly check. Okay, so I'm sure, have you read the paper already? Are you familiar with the contents yet? Or not yet?
Not really, not yet.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we've been told Kellen ham, or whatever it is, cheeses. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Information relating to Kellen ham cheeses. Ignore that for the purposes of the inventory system. So you'll see that this paper, actually, this question one, it focuses on inventory system as well as that. But they've told you to ignore that for the purposes of the inventory section, right? The reason why I'm saying that is because you guys read, write, but you need to pay attention to the details. The clock starts ticking from when you read, all right? Not when you write, because whatever you're reading will translate into whatever you're writing. So it's very important that from the beginning, and this is part of exam technique, that you know what is being required of you while you are reading, so that you don't end up taking the incorrect things into consideration, all right? So Callan Cheese is a local business that sells cheese and cheese boards from their shop, which is situated in an upmarket shopping mall. This small business is VAT registered and is owned by Sydney. Okay, so that's a totally different thing on its own. It's just extra information at this stage. Now, they use the periodic inventory system. When you guys see periodic inventory system, already you're thinking, oh, goodness me, why couldn't they be using the perpetual? Because you know already they're about to make life complicated. And you know already there's going to be calculations that are going to be, that you'll have to take into account. So that's the first thing to tell you. I don't know why, for some reason, my pen is acting up. So, but anyway, let's carry on. We'll just type and highlight and do other things until I figure it out. Okay, so we know already they're going to make our lives complicated. Then, with inventory, there's always two types of, it could be more, but there's always at least two types of products that they're going to give you. All right. So you already know what's coming, that one of them will be FIFO, one of them will be weighted average, and they want to complicate your life some more. So let's read. Cheese, according to the FIFO method. Okay, so they say they use the periodic inventory system, and the value of goods is as follows. Cheese, they use FIFO method, which is first in, first out, meaning whatever comes in first is going out first, right? The intended markup on cheese is 100%. So this person is very greedy. You can already see they wanting to mark up the products, right? They wanting to make 100% on whatever their cost was. So they wanting to go all out, all right? Then they tell you these boards according to the weighted average method, right? FIFO is easy to track, right? Because you can see what was in opening stock will be first, you will be able to see what we purchased, what weights we purchased it. So it's always easier to navigate FIFO. But weighted averages, we know they're going to complicate our lives because we're going to have to work out some kind of calculation in order for us to get some kind of weighted costs to use for whatever question is coming up. All right. Then they say the intended markup on the boards is 60%. So at least there is a bit more reasonable. All right. The following relates to the quarter, not year end, quarter, ended 31st of May, 2022. So it's very important as you read, and you guys get reading time, right? You still get reading time in your days, right?
Yes.
To pay attention and to highlight the important things, okay? So quarter, all right? Quarter is how many months?
3.
3 months. Why did we start there, Akona? If I wake you up, you should give me that answer, all right? 3. Okay, so we know we're dealing with 3 months, May. So we know it's March, April, May. Those will be our 3 months, right? All right, now let's read. So they tell us details and dates. The first one, which was the cheese, which we know is the FIFO method. They've given you the kilograms, the cost, and the total. And then the cheese boards, which we know we are going to value based on the weighted average method. They've given you the breakdown as well. So we're not going to read all of that right now because actually it's not going to really make a difference whether we start reading opening stock, purchases. It doesn't matter at this stage. What's going to be asked. So we're going to go right down to where there's that asterisk over here. Carriage on purchases is not included in the purchase value for March, April, and May. So we are here. All right. So they are saying all of these purchases has not taken into account carriage on purchases as yet. All right. Then they tell you additional information. We know they love to ask us additional information. I just want to move our faces out of here so that I will be able to read my next page. I said my laptop today, I closed as much as possible because I've been very busy, but today it just wants to act up. All right, let's continue. So sales were not as high as expected. And as a result, 25 kilograms of cheese that was purchased in April. So we're already talking about cheese, we here. You with me? We're talking about April, we here, right? Had to be thrown away. No other losses were experienced with regards to the cheese. Then they go on to say some boards, which is now the next product, were accidentally lost at the various market exhibitions that took place during the past 3 months. Okay, so we know we've lost stuff and we've thrown away stuff. Some things that we're going to have to remove from our calculations. All right, then this is the point where I'm trying to move our faces out of the way, but it doesn't want to move out of the way. Okay, so I know it says VATs. Do you have yours to read that top part for us up until 15%? Is yours open?
I have it on my phone because I couldn't really find my
Okay, it's fine.
Copy,
basically, we know that it's the VAT part of the question, which is 1.2, and we know that they're saying VAT is calculated at 15%, and everything else we can read, but we're not going to read that now because we first want to deal with the first part of the question. So let's go to what is required of us. Okay, so they say, refer to the information relating to Callahan cheese. Now we're referring to cheese boards, which is the weighted average, right? Determine the weighted average of one cheese board. Okay, so just to give you some perspective, quickly, when I was looking at the question, I just decided to make some summaries on a few things that we should just take into account, right? So what did they say? They're wanting weighted average of one cheese board, right? So let's go to our notes. Weighted average. Let's look for weighted average. Okay, so we know that every time we're wanting to do weighted average, we know we're gonna have to do some kind of calculation, right? Let me just look for my notes where I did the calculations. Okay, so we know that the calculation for weighted average method is total value of the units available to be sold divided by total number of units available. And I'll send you this recording when we're done as well, so that you can recap. Okay, so it's total value of units available to be sold divided by the total number of units available multiplied by by units of stock on hand. Okay. Tell me when you're good. So we know that we need to know this. I don't know, they give you guys the formula sheet, so I'm not sure how in detail they give it to you. But basically, it's always better to know formulas off by hand, just off by heart, just in case. Okay, so let's go back. So we're calculating the weighted average of one cheese board. So let's go to our information on the cheese board. Okay, so what did we say? We said that we need to know the total value of units available to be sold. Available to be sold and value. Meaning we're dealing with the rands, right?
The rands, yes.
The rands, right? Not the kilograms, all right? So we're gonna start with opening stock because that's available to be sold. And that's the value of units available to be sold. Opening stock at the beginning when we started this new quarter in March, we had cheese boards worth 13,500 available to be sold. So we're going to include that in our calculation. This is what I'm going to do to solve this problem. I know we are actually going to write on here because then my pen will work. Okay. So what did we say? Just give me 1 second to open the question on another page so that we can write. We need to write because otherwise you are imagining what I'm saying, but we're not writing. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what did we say? We said we've got 13,500.
Yes.
Sorry, let me just reduce the speed of this thing so it can slow down a bit. Okay, so 13. Okay, so 13, 500. We know we have that, and that is our opening stock, right? That's available to be sold. Now, what other units is available to be sold? If we go back and look at our question, do you agree with me that we made purchases?
Yes, we made purchases.
In total is available to be sold, and it is 53,750 over here. Total. You agree? All right. So that is available to be sold. So we're going to say plus 53,750.
Yes.
Okay. Then, is all of it available to be sold? Was all of that 53,750, was everything available to be sold there?
Some were lost.
Some were lost, right? Of the boards. Did they tell us how much was lost?
At the market exhibitions.
All right. So do you agree that at the market exhibition, right? But before that, did they not tell us that 5 boards from the April purchases was returned? So before we even got to the point of selling it, right, we need to consider the fact that some of them were returned, correct? So if we returned it, it means it was not available to be sold. So we need to minus it, correct? And they told you that it's from April. So which means that we can say 5 multiplied by, it would be 195, right? The cost.
Oh, yes. That.
And we need to take that out because it is not available to be sold. So I'm going to over here, minus, and I'll just calculate it. 5 multiplied by 195 gives me 975 that I'm going to take out of my available to be sold calculation. Are you good? But then we know that whenever we're dealing with stock, we know that part of our cost of sales and part of our calculation, we always have this thing called carriage. Always take into consideration, right, in arriving at our costs. Because when we purchased this thing for 53,750, there were other costs that were included, which is us getting to our warehouse, which is carriage. And they told us that carriage has not been included in the purchase prices yet, which means that we need to take into consideration this 2,395 in calculating our total purchase price. Okay, so I'm going to add 2,395 to my calculation. Okay, and what will that give us? Calculate it. We calculate carefully because we know we cannot afford silly errors like calculation errors. So when it comes to our calculation, I'm extra careful because we don't want to be the one who is. So it's 13,500. What do you get? 53,750 minus 975 plus 2,395. I get 68670. Do you agree?
1 second.
Okay.
7062.
Did you take into consideration the?
Oh, I added the returns. I didn't minus them.
And even my returns. Did I make a boo-boo with my returns? This O shouldn't be there.
No, my calculation, I added them instead of minusing them by mistake. 5 minus 2, 3. I've got 68670.
Agreed. All right, perfect. So now we need to calculate the bottom part of our formula, right? Which says that we must divide that by the number of units available. So now we're no longer dealing with the value. We're going to look at the units that are available. All right. So same process that we followed. What is available? Opening stock is available, right? Which is 60. Correct? Then we have our purchases, which is available, which is 260, right? We bought 260 in total, which is 17 March, 110 in April, and 18 May. So in total, we have 260 available, minus the 5 that we returned, correct?
Yes.
So let's do our calculation. We said it is, so we are going to divide it by, let's just put that in brackets, 60 plus 260 minus 5, which is the return. So 60 plus 260 minus 5, it means that the units that are available is 315. So now we have the total value available and we have the total units available. And then they tell us to multiply that by units of stock on hand. So what is the units of stock on hand? Any ideas?
On hand. Would you take this, wait.
What is this?
Would you take like sorry?
What is this formula calculating, the one we're looking at now? It's calculating the weighted average method, right?
Yes.
All right, so continue. Proceed.
Would you take like the top amount like minus your sales? Oh no.
Let's quickly go and look at our slide. No, there's no wrong answer here. Okay, so remember that they've told us that we must determine the weighted average of only one cheese. That's why they underlined it, only one cheese. So already, if you take 68670 divided by the 315, you already have the weighted average of one cheese. Because we only have only want one. Do you understand? And so we stop there. We don't multiply it by the total, the units of stock on hand, because that would be at, if we wanted to calculate the value of the stock at the end of the quarter. So then we would multiply it by the units of hand. Because remember, we're trying to calculate the average cost, right? Now we've got the average cost. So we can use this average cost now to calculate whatever they tell you to calculate in your next question. Maybe they tell you to calculate the value of closing stock of board, of cheese board. Then you take whatever of cheese board times this value. But because they just want of board, you would just take total units available divided by number of units available, and that cost is your weighted average cost. So meaning, answered the question where they say, determine the weighted average of one cheese board. So if you say 68670 divided by 315, hence 68670 divided by 315, the weighted average cost of one cheese is 218 Rand. So we needed to analyze what was required of us. They wanted us to calculate the costs of one cheese board. When we look at our question, how do we know the cost of one cheese board? Because now the opening stock, it cost 225. Then when we purchased it in March, it was 210. Then when we purchased it in April, it was 195. How do we know this? We don't know this because now they've told us that cheese boards, it uses the weighted average method, meaning we had to go and average everything to find the weighting, correct? So what did we do? We went and we remembered there was a formula for it. We know we must take the total value of the units available to be sold, which will include our opening stock, what we started with, plus what we bought. And we're going to divide that by the number of units available, which will also include our opening stock, plus our purchases, minus our return. Divide them from each other, and that gives us our weighted average cost. Cool. So that is question number 1. So this does not want me, let's see, maybe it wanted me to write now. Does it want me to write? No, only on PowerPoint. Cool. So that's the...
I have a question.
Yes, sure.
When would we have to times like when you know how the formula says you must times it by units of
Yes.
stock on hand,
Yes.
when would we times it by a number?
If the question asked you over here, determine the weighted average of cheese board at 31st of May 2021. So if you look over here, we would need to calculate our closing stock, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we would need to say what we bought, what we started with opening, plus what we purchased, right? Minus what was returned, minus what was sold is what is left over.
Yes.
And whatever is left over, if they want you to calculate that value, if the question here had read, determine the weighted average of cheese boards at 31st of May 2021, then you would have said that closing stock times 281.
Oh, okay.
So whatever we calculated as our closing stock, which is what we had plus what we bought minus what we returned minus what we sold, is what's left over at the end of May. That times that 281, then you would use the 281 because they're asking you for the closing stock value.
Okay.
We wanted one cheese, so we just give them the unit cost of one cheese. We don't multiply by two. Cool. Okay. Then the second question tells us, determine the rand value of boards that were lost during the past quarter. Consider that the actual cost of sales was calculated to be 56975. Okay. So what's happening here? What is cost of sales? Cost of sales is the cost of what we're selling, meaning what it cost us when we bought it. Correct? And so if they're telling you that the actual cost of sales is 56975, that means we didn't actually achieve actual. Something happened. Why did something happen? Because things were lost during the past quarter. Correct? So we lost things. So we need to take into consideration now the things we lost in order for us to calculate what the intended cost of sale is, and the difference between those two will give you the rand value of the boards that were lost. I need you to take a moment to be sure that you understand what we're doing. So they're saying determine the rand value of the boards that were lost during the past quarter. In the information they told where's the board story? Some boards were accidentally lost in a market exhibition that took place during the past 3 months. So we lost some boards while we were trying to sell at a market. Okay, but then they tell you that consider that actual cost of sales was 56975. So that's our actual cost of sales. So that's actually what happened. Our actual cost of sales was 56975, which is the cost of what we're selling. So now we need to calculate what did we originally want the cost of sales to be?
If we didn't lose them.
If we didn't lose them. And what would that be? Sorry, you go.
Sorry, no, I'm just saying something else now.
Okay, but do you agree that we basically what we're trying to calculate here is cost of sales? Forget actual, we're trying to calculate our cost of sales, what it was supposed to be. Do you agree with me that we have our average cost already, which we calculated in our previous question, which is 218 rand, okay? And so if our cost is 218 and our sale is 265, can we not say 265, the unit sold, times the cost of that? Would that not give us what the cost of sales should have been? If you
say that again, please.
If we sold something, we sold 10 balls, okay? We sold the 10 balls for 8 rand, right? But you agree with me that how would we calculate things? How would we get to our profit? We would say 10 rand times 10 balls times 8 rand, right? Would be 80 rand.
Yes.
And then, for example, we bought it for 5 rand. We would say 10 times 5 is 50. And then we'll use that to calculate. So at the end of the day, that we're using the 10 that was sold to calculate the costs. Because we're using 10, which was the balls that were sold, multiplying it by our cost, which is 5 rand, to get to 50.
Yes.
Cost us. Okay. So now we are trying to calculate what was our cost of sales supposed to be. We're trying to calculate that 50 rand. Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to say our cost, we know that we don't have a cost. We have a weighted average cost because everything is all together because we're using weighted average. So we have 218.
Mm-hmm.
And we have how much we sold. We have 265. Do you agree?
Yes, we have how much?
5, which is like our 10,
yeah,
for example. So 265 times 218 is the same thing as our 10 times 5 rand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that will give you our cost, right? Our cost of sales, our cost, right? So if we say 265 times 218, our cost of sales that we intended was 57770.
Mm-hmm.
But then, right? But then they told us that it was considered that your actual was 56975, not 57770. So the difference was lost. So if we say that minus what they've given you, 56975, the difference of 795 would be the rand value of the boards that were lost.
Okay.
Cool. So one thing I want to point out to you is no information is ever for fun. Every detail they give you, they want you to use it somewhere. So you have to try and analyze, where should I use it? Same way with this one that they underlined. They didn't underline it for fun or, are they serious? If our meeting ends, I'll send you another link immediately and we join again. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe we'll explore Google Meets for our other sessions. Cool. So you see that even with the 1, they told you 1 because they didn't want you to go and multiply it by that. They didn't want you to go and multiply it over here by the unit of stock. They wanted you to multiply it by 1 because it would be only 1. Okay, let's move on. Are you good with 1.2? Are you sure?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Then number 3, we are now breathing because finally FIFO, we love FIFO. FIFO is easier. Well, for most people. Calculates the weight of cheese on hand in kilograms on the 31st of May, 2021. So the weight of cheese on hand, can you see that this is very similar to that question that in the first one? They're wanting the weight of cheese on hand on the 31st of May. So first of all, we're dealing with cheese. Let's go to our question, right? 1.3. We're calculating the weight of cheese on hand. Any ideas what they are asking you to do? Where do you want to start?
On hand.
Mm-hmm.
So like we wouldn't we take
Go for it. Let me give you the right over here. There is the cheese this column. So basically they want, do you agree they're not asking for value? They're asking for weight. So we know we're dealing with this column, right?
Yes, yes.
So we want to know how much cheese is on hand at the end of the quarter. Sorry, I almost say year end. Year end. This is a quarter, right? So they want to know basically how many kilograms of cheese is on hand at the end of the quarter. Okay. So in order for us to do that, we know we're dealing with this column over here, right? What did we start with? We started with 190 kilograms.
Yes.
I'm just trying to see where oh, perfect, it's empty. So we started with 190 kilograms, and that was our opening stock of cheese. Then what happened? We purchased 810, right? But of that purchase, 10 kilograms was returned. Do you agree?
March.
In March. So do you agree with me that I can say plus total purchase, which is 810, right? And then less return, which is 10. Anything else significant happened? Remember, we want to know what is on hand. So we still have to minus what's sold, but you agree with me so far, we've taken what we started with plus what we bought.
Yeah.
Okay, and that gives us 190 plus 810 plus 10, sorry, minus 10. We returned 190 plus 810 minus 10. That's why it's in brackets, it's a minus. And that should give us 990 kilograms. But then we sold 735. And also, we are told here in number 1, remember the second one was the boards, but now number 1 it says, sales were not as high as expected. And as a result, 25 kilograms of cheese that was purchased in April had to be thrown away. Returned, thrown away, point is it must go out, correct? So what was our sales? Our sales was 735, first of all. So do you agree with me that this is what we had? Now we're gonna say minus sales. Because remember, we're trying to calculate what is on hand. So in order to find out what's on hand, we must remove what was sold, right? You with me? Okay, so minus 735 kilograms. And then we're also gonna minus the thrown away, which is 25 kilograms. All right, so let's put that in brackets because we are minusing them. 990 minus 735 minus 25, meaning that we have 230 kilograms on hand at the, what was the question? On 31st of May. Cool. So we analyze the question, calculate the weight of cheese. Okay, they ask us why they talk about weight of cheese, but they're just trying to weight because we're dealing with kilograms. They told us over here in our questions that our cheese is in kilos and our boards is in boards, right? So they just want so basically they could have just said calculate the kilogram of cheese on hand on 31st of May. The weight mustn't go out. So we want to know how much cheese is on hand at the end of May. That's it. So how much cheese is on hand at the end of May? What I started with, plus what I bought, minus I returned, minus I sold, minus I threw away, equals. Cool. And what I want to just tell you when you're dealing with this inventory system is just to check whether they're wanting units or values. That's often where students throw away marks. You know what I mean? Like, are they asking me for a unit or are they asking me for a rand value? Once you can establish, you know, but if you just read and you just go and jump and start calculating, most students calculate rand when they're wanting kilos and they calculate kilos when they're wanting rands. But once you take into account what is asked, okay, here they didn't ask me for anything rand value, they asked me for kilos. Then you go and deal with your kilos column. You know what I mean? Then it's much easier. All right. Okay, then 1.4, this is the point where I can't move our face. Oh, I can actually. Oh, yes. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, because I can't see you because I've just minimized so that I don't, okay, so I can see the screen. Cool. So complete the trading statement for the quarter ended 31st of May in regards to cheese only. So we're only dealing with cheese. They want the trading statement. We know the trading statement sounds like trading account. We know the trading account sounds like sales minus cost of sales. So we can already see that they've given you that format over here. Are you with me? Of sales minus cost of sales. You with me? So trading statement, they want you to calculate your sales minus cost of sales and give them their gross profit. Okay, but now we know there's going to be complications, right? Because we're dealing with cheese. And cheese only is on the FIFO method. All right? Yeah. Okay, so let's go and do their calculations for them. Okay. Remember that we were dealing with the periodic inventory system. And when we're dealing with the periodic inventory system, we know that we're going to have to calculate cost of sales. Okay. But for now, we're happy. We want to give them their sales. There's no problems yet. The sales value for cheese is 87745. It was given to us. Are you happy? 87745. Okay. So in every question, there's always some nice easy marks that we can get, and then some other questions that we need to work harder for. Okay. So this one is given to us. We are happy we can get our marks. Just give me 1 second. Just trying to direct my pen. Okay. Okay. what was it? 745.
745.
Okay. Then we know that our cost of sales is the one that's going to give us drama because we are on the periodic inventory system. And when we're on the periodic inventory system, we know that we need to do this whole calculation just to calculate our cost of sales. We must take our opening beginning, plus our purchases, plus our carriage, plus custom or import duties, and minus our closing stock. Cool. So let's go. So our cost of sales, we're going to start with opening stock or opening inventory. And how much was that? Let's go and check. So our opening stock, we're dealing with cheese. Remember that?